I'm Sami Bell, creator of Sure Parenting, and for nearly a decade, I've helped parents break generational cycles. The key? Reparenting. Over the years, I've also learned that this work isn't just for parents, it's for anyone ready to heal the lingering effects of the past. Most of us carry protective parts that take over during emotionally charged moments, and those parts deserve compassion, not shame. When you take an unshaming approach to healing, one that empowers your inner parent to lead with curiosity and care, you begin to make allies of all of your parts, the inner critic, the overexplainer, the avoider, the judge, and more. As these parts feel seen, heard, and understood, they can return to their original valuable role, supporting you, not sabotaging you, so your inner child can finally receive the love, safety, and rescue they've been waiting for from you. Welcome to our first episode. What is parts work? What is unique about my take, and why would you possibly want to do this stuff? Let me ask you this. Have you ever said something in frustration and immediately thought, oh no, why did I say that? Or maybe you consciously want to stay calm and connected, but then something like takes over and you explode or you freeze or you just walk away. You feel out of control in these moments, and then you feel full of shame and confusion. How can someone who wants to be calm and regulated still act out in the same frustrating ways over and over? Because when your nervous system senses a threat, it jumps in to protect you the best way it knows how. And your brain has created parts to run patterns it believes will get the job done. Some parts get big and loud and scary. Some parts just freeze. Some parts flee. Some parts pretend or fawn. Some parts just dissociate. But in that moment, the whole unit isn't actually looking to you as the leader at the wheel. It's being overwhelmed and it's calling forth your personal protectors. This can make you feel like you're at war with yourself, knowing your goals and intentions, but then watching in horror as part of you acts out completely out of alignment with those stated goals and intentions. This is the conflict that parts work wades into and helps you to resolve. So first off, I want to say you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not crazy. Your body and your nervous system and your brain have been protecting you your whole life based on instincts and patterns that it has come to recognize in your environment. If you want to change those auto reactions, you'll need to make peace with those parts. You have to understand their value and then take back leadership within so that they don't feel the need to override you when times get tough because they've learned to trust you and you will handle it safely. Parts work is based on the idea that we are not just one single self. Instead, we have a lot of different parts within us, like mini versions of ourselves. If you've seen the movie Inside Out, you kind of get the idea. Each part carries specific thoughts, feelings, fears, and roles. These parts are often formed in childhood and shaped by our experiences, and they try to protect us above all else. Some parts, like I said, are loud and demanding. Some are really quiet and avoidant. Some are deeply wounded, and some just want to keep us functioning. And thank goodness for those parts. None of the parts, though, are actually bad parts. They all have a reason for being there. Let me share a few parts that you might recognize. The inner critic, that's the one that everybody seems to know what I'm talking about when I say. This part says, you're not doing enough, you're failing, or what the heck is wrong with you? Ingrid Instamom wouldn't have ever done that. Get it together. This voice is often born from our parents and how they reacted to our mistakes, which in turn was modeled by their own inner critic, which was born of how their parents reacted to their mistakes, and so on and so forth. This part thinks if it doesn't shame you, you'll mess up and the consequences will be very dangerous. Then there's the avoidant part. This is the one that checks out. It distracts you, it numbs out with substances, both illicit and benign. This part wants to protect you from overwhelm or the shame of failing to meet expectations. Another one that comes up a lot in coaching is the over-explainer. This is the one that keeps talking, seemingly believing that if they just say the right thing the right way, the other person couldn't possibly still be mad or think badly of us. They'll just keep trying to get their point across because it'll soothe things and keep us safe. The problem is that we don't actually control what other people think or feel or say, and it isn't our job to do so. So this part works in futility. Then there's the perfectionist, the one that believes that you should get things perfect, that your standards need to be sky high in order to be okay, that if you rest for just a moment, everything will come crashing down. This part actually gets social praise for your successes. So it's kind of hard to convince it that it's doing anything wrong. The problem is it slowly drains us and it builds the fear of failure higher and higher and higher the longer it goes unchallenged. So each of these parts has developed a survival strategy, trying to help you cope with the things that once felt too big or too painful to process, usually when you were too young to have any true say in your life. So they took over and they did their very best. And in a lot of cases, they did a really great job. Now that we're an adult, though, they are not serving our highest good anymore. And it's time for us to reassign them to more functional roles in an adult person's life. So when you begin to notice your parts, you begin to realize that your work isn't as daunting as it once seemed. You, as a whole, are not some terribly flawed human. You're just a good person with some wires that need to be rerouted. Wanting to help shift a part of you is a lot less overwhelming than thinking that you're just super messed up as a whole. When you begin to meet these parts with curiosity instead of judgment, you start to shift your relationship with them. You begin to develop peace within, and it gives them the ability to step back and let you lead your life again. In the reparenting realm, you'll learn to cultivate your inner parent, the most grounded, compassionate, patient, and wise parent you can imagine, the kind of parent you needed in your times of stress, hurt, and overwhelm. The kind connected to infinite light and love, the kind that knows you and can attune to your emotions without ego or fear getting in the way. You have access to this part, but it's probably not seen a lot of stage time. This part will reparent every other part. This part bathes your inner critic in understanding and softens its jagged edges. This part stands beside your avoider and patiently says, "Hey, we can face it. I'm here." This part sits and rocks your inner child and promises it can handle any and all feelings that she needs to express. This is the pathway to integration and healing. As these parts feel seen, heard, and understood, they can return to their original valuable role, supporting you without the extreme nature of their behaviors. They won't have to take over because they trust you now, and thus you are free to be the one in the driver's seat of your life. Here's something you can try. Here's a takeaway. The next time you feel triggered, pause and ask yourself, which part of me is showing up right now? You don't need to fix it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to correct it. Just notice. Get curious. What might this part be afraid of? What is it trying to protect? You don't even have to answer those questions, but just think them. Start that conversation in your mind. So for the first week, I want you to list any part you notice. You cannot underestimate how powerful noticing is. It is something that we have not really done much at all for most of us, especially if you have a strong avoider or dissociator. So just noticing, bringing your awareness to the parts is a very powerful first step in this work. There are no right or wrong answers. Feel free to use different descriptors. Feel free to use names. Feel free to work on how you want to articulate a particular part. It really is a process and it's your process. So you can't get it wrong. Then at the end of your week, go back through your list and put stars next to 3 parts that show up for you often. Alternatively, if this feels overwhelming, you don't want to be noticing all day, all the time, pick one part that you're going to start to notice. I'm just practicing noticing when the inner critic steps in. And I'm just going to put a star every time I see the inner critic. Okay, so that's a different version of noticing. Once you have a focus part, ask that part verbally in your head or out loud. What are you trying to help me with? and then write down their answer. Okay, that's your work for this week. Please remember, you are not broken. You are beautifully complex. Every part of you is trying to help you in the way it knows how. They can learn new ways, though. And when you start to lead those parts with compassion, you can see the shift happen almost immediately. The freedom this creates is worth the emotions that you will need to face while doing this work. I, for one, am very proud of you for being here. I genuinely believe this work can change the world, and you're a part of that now. So thank you. Thanks for listening. And remember, each of your parts has a purpose, and your body wants to heal. When you get curious about their messages, gently witness their pain, and create safety through your inner parent, healing begins to unfold. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You deserve it.